new clutch for the engine swap we're doing, because took that clutch apart and it is smoked, flywheel smoked, it's a whole thing. But while we're waiting on that to get here, we're back to this. Axles are in, gear oil is full. I'm draining all the water out of it because I got another cheap radiator. This time I got one with a shroud on it so that we don't have to use those ties that go through the radiator, which is what I think caused the leak on this one. So that's just a matter of taking this one out, pop that one in, swap power and ground wires from this fan onto that one, and that's ready to go. So as soon as we get coolant in it, I'll lay under it and put our lower mount in, our lower torque mount in, and then it's gonna fire up. I got all of the sensors working on the input expander. So we have fuel pressure reading, we have back pressure reading, we have our crank pressure reading, and we have our coolant pressure reading. They're all working. That's all sorted out. Still haven't cleaned in here. That's what I'm gonna do while I wait for the water to drain out of this thing. But it's ready to fire. Just gotta take care of this radiator issue. It is 100 degrees outside, 50% humidity. It's nice in here, it's about 70 degrees. So I'm gonna fire it, get it running for a quick second, and then that way I can check for leaks and then kill it, because I really don't want to open these doors until I have to, because it is just brutal hot outside. So I'll get the radiator swapped over, and then as soon as it's ready to fire, I'll start filming again, and we'll see if we can get it to start. Like I said before in previous video, it should fire up. The compression's a lot lower, and the cam overlap's a lot bigger. So it might not run great on the existing tune, but it still should fire up with just some adjustments to the fuel map. So we will, we will see. So get ready for that journey. All right, we got oil, coolant. It's got to bleed, but we got it in there. Gear oil. Clutch is not bled, but we don't need that right now. Battery is all hooked up. It's on a charger in case we need to crank this thing a lot. Gas pedal is bolted in. It should start. I don't care how many times you've put engines together. The first start is always a wreck in your mind. And in this case, with this being like the first of its kind, I'm even more nervous. But all we can do is hope that we put it together right and try it. So that's what we're gonna do, is we're just gonna try to start it. Again, it's gonna run rough because the tune in there is not set up for the low compression and for the cam overlap. So here we go. I'm gonna prime everything first, even though I've cranked it several times. So I'm gonna hold the throttle wide open, we'll shut the fuel off, we'll crank it over. Okay, I got no RPM signal though. So let me look into that. Okay, so the issues related to the cam sensor, which we had a problem before with this, because if I change this to diagnostic random haul, I get an RPM reading, and when I'm cranking, even with it on haul, I am also getting an RPM reading. Oh, it's not connected to the thing right now. I am getting an RPM reading, it's just not giving me cam sync. All right, issue is resolved. I just had to change the cam sensor. So this should start, should. So once it gets running, I'll film, but I'm gonna need to concentrate on this, so just give me a few. Sounds like crap, but it's running. Oh, died. I gotta fix the idle because I'm holding it open myself. Oh, yep, and I let it go of it. But I got it running. It's running good. All right, we got it idling pretty good. You got good oil pressure. You see any leaks? No leaks? Let it run for a couple minutes and then we'll check everything over. right, so it's running great. We have one issue. The flex fuel sensor is like stuck at 100% for some reason. I even called Fuel Tech and asked them to take a look at it in case maybe I had done a setting, which there's not really anything related to that. So I was just checking stuff, and this is grounded directly to the battery through the harness, and I'm reading some resistance in the ground wire. So I'm thinking that might be it. So what I'm going to do is just make a temporary ground to somewhere else and see if the reading flattens out. Because I tested the fuel out of this, and pardon the dark color because I used a Coke can with a little bit of Coke in it to catch it. So that is E85 that's in there. So it should be reading 85%, not 100. And sometimes it will dip down to like 50. So I'm gonna just make a temporary ground and see if that fixes it. All right, so I threw a temporary power and ground on there, didn't fix it. So now I'm gonna change the input wire. See if that helps. I already ran this wire into the car. I just have to hook it up to an input and just some temporary to see if we can get this working. I can't figure out what's wrong with this thing. And we need that sensor working to start tuning the car. Okay, so ran that to a new input, and we're still reading 100% ethanol. So I don't know if my measurement on my little test here was bad. Again, excuse the brown. It's like E90-ish. So maybe it's just reading that extra 10% and just calling it 100. Realistically, to have that be the only problem we're having getting this thing running is kind of nice. So what I'm gonna do is tomorrow, before the clutch gets here for that other car I'm gonna do one more heat cycle on it, do a compression test on it, change the oil, and assuming the compression test comes back fairly level, I say within 10% across the board, then it's ready to get tuned. This is a race car engine, so the break-in period is gonna be dyno pulse. It's kind of how it is. I gotta bleed the clutch. I should have done that when Phil was here, but it didn't. So, I mean, for the flex fuel to be the only problem, I can't complain about that. There's no oil leaks, no water leaks. The cooling system's pretty well bled out. We'll bleed it out more tomorrow for the second full heat cycle. But everything is working fine. We have 100 PSI oil pressure at cold start. So oil pressure is great. So we can't complain. So it is officially back up and running. And it's just a matter of bolting up a couple little things and then we'll get this thing on the dyno. So sitting in the office editing this, and I figured out the issue. There's a little tiny bit of fuel left in that tank from months and months and months ago. So bad fuel, gasoline, that part of it, will cause false ethanol readings. So tomorrow I'm gonna pump all the fuel out, including the gallon of X85 that I put in there, pump it all out, and then pour fresh X85 in it, and that should fix the issue based off of what I've been reading and researching. But that did just dawn on me, so that would be it.